Never short on talent, the men of Troy are now gaining strength in numbers. We bring in Evan Budrovih of Conquest Chronicles to talk about what some consider to be the best recruiting class in college football on National Signing Day. Evan, thanks so much for joining us.
No problem, Mark. Appreciate it.
It's USC, and we've talked for the last few years about numbers not being there in terms of depth, but it's growing, and now the shackles are off, and you brought in 24 very quality football players.
No, absolutely, and I think that's the thing. Last year you look at just 15 players coming in, and then this year you obviously add 9 more to that, but more importantly, you add 4 and 5-star players, and that's what USC needs. You need depth at certain positions, and I think Coach Sarkisian even mentioned it last week that he kind of got everything he wanted, and that usually doesn't happen on signing day. To land pretty much every kid you were trying to get, it'll certainly make the 2 years down the road when these kids are juniors and then seniors even that much better.
Evan, my next question opens you up to the possibility of like a 1-hour diatribe. Who are these guys that you would really like to see hit the field? And again, I know it's like 20 guys, but who can we really key on of possibly being an impact player pretty soon?
I guess I'll just keep it to 3 for the sake of timing today. But first and foremost, Iman Marshall, the safety cornerback out of Long Beach Poly, a local kid, of course, just so talented and athletic. And I think that's what USC needs on defense is just athletic guys with the Pac-12 doing so much read option and having these mobile quarterbacks. So he's going to make an impact. Another guy I like is Marvell Tell, a local kid out of Crespi High School. Once again, he'll probably play safety, and USC needs help at safety. Outside of Sue Cravens, they don't have a lot of depth there. So he can get playing time immediately. And then, obviously, you have to look at the linebacker position. And I think Porter Gustin is a physical, big kid that can instantly play with the captain, Hayes Pillard, graduating and now moving on. I think he's a guy that can probably vie for a spot the second he steps on campus.
I'm always interested to see those few guys that are leaning certain ways. They've got 3 or 4 or 5 schools on the list and where they go. And for the 2 schools right there in Southern California, USC and UCLA, they had a lot of guys lean their way and break the fence and go in that direction. Just talk about how the dominoes fell for what was a fringe top 10 class to become arguably the best class.
Well, they're tabbing at the Fab Five, so to speak, of the 5 stars that were up in the air from California. And it was interesting just as the day rolled on. I think the announcements were at 11 and then 12 and kind of progressively that way, and you started with Rasheem Green, the local product, John Houston Jr., both out of Sarah High School that had kids like Marquise Lee and Robert Woods, and then as you moved forward, you saw Porter Gustin commit earlier in the week, and just all those kids are coming, and that really helped USC. But I think UCLA did well, and just to be honest, they had a good recruiting class for what Jim Mora could do. I think the whole defensive coordinator situation may come back to bite them in the long run, but they landed some good kids as well. So I definitely think that both teams are certainly top 10, and then what USC was able to do to kind of push themselves ahead was land the local 5-star kids from in Los Angeles, and UCLA didn't get as many of those kids.
We're looking at 5 top 50 players depending on your service, 10 to 12 of the top 100 to 120. It's a loaded class. So based on sheer talent, these guys could vie for playing time. But based on what you lost last season from 2014, where do you think those positional needs lie where some of these kids could get immediate playing time?
Well, first and foremost, defensive line. With Leonard Williams probably going to be drafted top 5, maybe top 3 overall this year. That's a huge hole in the defensive line. There's a lot of seniors coming back, but guys that haven't played that much. So you have a lot of experience, but not a lot of actual on-field experience. I think when it comes down to it, Rasheem Green, who's a defensive lineman, could really get some impact right away and possibly play. I also think the linebacker position is one that needs some depth as well. Hayes Pillard, as I mentioned, left. There's a senior Anthony Serrell coming back, but outside of that, a lot of young guys as well, which then opens it up for competition and different playing time. The one position, though, I think that USC is going to be loaded in is cornerback. When you look at Adoree Jackson right now, Iman Marshall can fill that role as well. There's a couple kids who are local they like to. So you look at 3 or 4 kids that in the next 2 years could be, oh my goodness, that secondary could be stacked once again.
Evan Budrovih joins us from Conquest Chronicles. Evan, quite a vibe, quite a buzz that's going to be generated around spring practice. Hopefully we can track you down at that point.
Oh, no, I tell you, it's coming up in the beginning of March, so right around the corner.